time is 1:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited and read by Ramesh Pires. First, the headlines. The Prime Minister pays homage to Atamasthania and receives blessings. 3 institutions gazetted under the Ministry of Investment Promotion. Sri Lanka and Russia continue discussions on loan for Russian oil products. A special public holiday and a day of mourning declared on Monday, the 19th of September, in view of the late Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral. A special discussion held under the chairmanship of the Minister of Power and Energy to discuss the projects to be implemented in the future. The Minister of Agriculture says a bundle of 50 kg of urea fertilizer to be given free to farmers with less than 2.5 acres of farmland. The organisers expect large crowds to attend the Colombo International Book Fair 2022 today. In news overseas, EU presidency calls for war crimes tribunal over Ukraine's mass graves. In sports, the 62nd annual Battle of the Saints rugby encounter, St. Peter's College beat the traditional rival at Havelock Park. And now the local news in detail. The Prime Minister, Dinesh Gunawardena, called on Venerable Dr. Pallegama Sirinivasa Thero, custodian and chief priest of Mahabodhi and Atamasthana Adipati of Anuradhapura this morning and received the Thero's blessings. After Prime Minister Gunawardena paid reverence to the Jaya Sri Mahabodhi and received blessings. The Premier then paid homage to the Ruanveli Saya, Chaitya Stupa and the Atamasthania. Prime Minister Gunawardena also called on Chief Incumbent of Ruanveli Mahasaya, Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Nayaka Thero. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has issued an extraordinary gazette notification allocating several institutions under the Ministry of Investment Promotion. According to the gazette notification, the institutions that will come under the purview of the Ministry of Investment Promotion are the Sri Lanka Export Development Board, the Sri Lanka Investment Board and the Colombo Port City Economic Commission. Until now, these institutions were under the Ministry of Finance. The Sri Lankan authorities continue negotiations with Russia on the provision of a loan to buy Russian fuel, Minister of Transport and Highways and Minister of Mass Media Bandula Gunawardena said on Saturday in an interview with global news agency Sputnik. Meanwhile, the minister also said that Sri Lanka is a safe tourist destination. The minister added that tourism is a key sphere for Sri Lanka and tourists from all around the world are welcome to visit the island nation. Separately, Minister Gunawardena, in an interview with Russia's RIA Novosti, said that he expects flights between Moscow and Colombo will be restored by mid-October in 2022. He added that it is 100% safe for Russian tourists to visit Sri Lanka. A special discussion was held with the representatives of several institutions under the chairmanship of the Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, to discuss the projects to be implemented in the future. In a tweet, the minister said the discussions were based on the ongoing projects, energy policy, renewable energy and restructuring. Furthermore, the minister in his tweet said that 37,000 metric tons of octane 92 petrol cargo and a 100,000 metric ton crude oil cargo will commence unloading. A 40,000 metric ton diesel cargo that commenced unloading 2 days ago concluded last morning. The minister added that another 40,000 metric tons of diesel cargo will be released pending payment. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. The Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amaravira, says that every paddy farmer will be given a bundle of 50 kilograms of urea fertilizer for free in the upcoming harvest season. He stated that the proposal received the President's approval. Joining a small-scale agribusiness program held in Agunakota Palace on Saturday, the Minister said that the bundle will be provided to farmers with less than 2.5 hectares. Hideki Mizukoshi, Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, attended the sending-off ceremony recently held by the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment under the patronage of Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manusha Nanakara for 26 trainees who will be visiting Japan under Technical Intern Training Program. The 28 team of 26 technical intern trainees who will receiving training opportunities in Japan for a period of 3 and 5 years left for Japan earlier this week. The core purpose of the technical intern training program is to develop human resources in developing countries so that trainees can acquire advanced skills, technology and knowledge in Japan and utilize them for economic and social development of their mother country. Organizers expect large crowd to attend the Colombo International Book Fair 2022 for the third day today. The Colombo International Book Fair, organized by the Sri Lanka Book Publishers Association for the 23rd occasion, got underway on Friday at the BMICH. This year's International Book Fair will be worked off until the 25th of September. The Sri Lanka Book Publishers Association said the fair is open to the general public between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. daily. And that ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story, the Ministry of Public Administration has declared Monday, the 19th of September, as a special holiday for state institutions. The Secretary to the Ministry said that the special holiday has been announced in line with the day of mourning in view of the passing of the United Kingdom's longest-serving monarch, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education has declared a holiday for government schools and government-approved private schools. The ministry said that the holiday has been provided in line with the holiday declared for state institutions on Monday. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And in Watchlight, the National Dengue Control Unit says there has been an increase in dengue cases reported in the country so far this year compared to the figures from the previous year. In a statement, the unit stated that by the 36th week of this year, a total of 55,012 dengue cases have been reported in Sri Lanka. However, by this time last year, the number of cases reported was 18,265 according to the unit. And that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to the bulletin of world news, first the headlines. EU presidency calls for war crimes tribunal over Ukraine mass graves. Power is back on at the huge nuclear plant in Zaporizhia. Thousands evacuated in Japan amid warnings of unprecedented risks from an approaching storm. Now the world news in detail. The European Union has called for a war crimes tribunal in Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said new evidence of torture has been found as more bodies are exhumed from a mass burial site in a town retaken from Russian forces. Jan Levetsky, Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic, which holds the EU's rotating presidency, said on Saturday that Russia's attacks against the civilian population are unthinkable and abhorrent in the 21st century. The appeal follows the discovery by Ukrainian authorities of about 450 graves outside the formerly Russian-occupied city of Izium, with some of the exhumed bodies showing signs of torture. The UN's watchdog says Ukraine's huge Zaporizhia nuclear power plant has begun receiving power from the national grid once again. Shelling in the area damaged power lines connected to the plant. All 6 of its reactors are in a state of cold shutdown, but the plant needs external power to cool its reactors and defend against the risk of a meltdown. The World Nuclear Watchdog, IAEA, said the situation of the plant, which is held by the Russian forces, has improved but remains precarious. Hundreds of thousands of people in Japan have been urged to evacuate their homes amid warnings of unprecedented risks from an approaching storm. Typhoon Nanmadol is expected to make landfall on Kyushu Island today. Winds could reach 270 kilometers per hour and some areas could experience 500 millimeters of rainfall in just 24 hours. A special alert is in force for Kyushu with a population of 13 million people with warnings of landslides and flooding. To end this World News Bulletin, headlines. EU presidency calls for war crimes tribunal over Ukraine mass graves. Power is back on at the huge nuclear plant in Zaporizhia. Thousands evacuated in Japan amid warnings of unprecedented risks from an approaching storm. And that ends World News. Moving on to development news, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nima Siripala de Silva, says steps will be taken to develop Galle Port as a tourist port. The minister mentioned this while attending an observation tour of Galle Port to find out about its development plans. The minister said Galle Port, which has a very long history, is planned to be developed with identified opportunities in the future of the world, and a group of investors have already come forward for that. Minister Siripala De Silva emphasized that the development of Galle Port is a national interest and assured that no employees' jobs will be affected in the new development program. And that was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
With many values that bind us beyond the transaction, we are Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports, first it's rugby. St. Peter's College beat St. Joseph's College 25-24 in the annual rugby encounter played at Havelock Park yesterday. St. Peter's College produced a superb second-half rally to beat their traditional rivals St. Joseph's College in their 62nd annual Battle of the Saints rugby encounter. The Patriots, who were trailing at half-time, came back magnificently to score 3 tries and a drop goal in the second half and went on to retain the Reverend Father Basil Veeratunga's shield for another year. In cricket news, the Australian national cricket team arrived in India on Friday morning through a chartered flight from New Delhi, ahead of the first T20 international encounter for 3-match series scheduled to be played at the IS Bindra PCA Stadium in Mohali on September 20th. On Saturday evening, the errant Finch-led side had a practice session under the floodlights at the Mohali Stadium, which is hosting its first international T20 game since 2018 and for the first time international game at 100% crowd capacity after the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. The Indian team, meanwhile, is expected to arrive in the city in two batches over the weekend. And that was sports news.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Moving on to business news. Sri Lanka Cricket, the governing body for cricket in Sri Lanka, handed over a cheque for $500,000 to President Ranil Wickremesinghe for the purchase of medicines for the National Cancer Institute's Apeksha Hospital in Maharagawa. The donation was made at the ceremony presided over by the President at the Cinnamon Lakeside Hotel in Colombo in honor of Asian cricket champions and the Asian netball champions and medal winners of the Commonwealth Games recently. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by...
The fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In economic news, global law firm Clifford Chance has announced that an update will be made to Sri Lanka's external creditors on the progress made by the government pertaining to recent economic developments and discussions with the International Monetary Fund. The presentation is scheduled to take place on Friday. And that was economic news. The weather report is next. Moving on to the weather report, the Meteorological Department forecasts few showers to occur in the western and Sabaragama provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. And that was the weather report. And to end this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The Prime Minister pays homage to Atamastania and receives blessings. 3 institutions gazetted under the Ministry of Investment Promotion. Sri Lanka and Russia continue discussions on loan for Russian oil products. A special public holiday and a day of mourning declared on Monday, the 19th of September, in view of the late Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral. A special discussion held under the chairmanship of the Minister of Power and Energy to discuss the projects to be implemented in the future. The Minister of Agriculture says a bundle of 50 kg of urea fertilizer to be given free to farmers with less than 2.5 acres of farmland. The organisers expects large crowds to attend the Colombo International Book Fair 2022 today. Moving on to overseas news, EU presidency calls for war crimes tribunal over Ukraine mass graves. In sports, the 62nd annual battle for the Saints rugby encounter, St. Peter's College beat the traditional rival at Havelock Park. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.